مسكدله ني كتتا ني أنك حسا أمودر عفر ينتك جحلو السلامة نكسين تافينام دانكالي هنجت إيا برنامج اللنكوي ني كتتانا ملاي مسكدلوكسين أرحبسنام
I now give the floor to Professor Joseph Magnet.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. And thank you, Ahmed, for those kind words of introduction. Thank you, Warren, for those very kind words of introduction, which I very much appreciate. And let me say what a pleasure it is to be here with so many old Afar friends who I have met with personally, interchanged with, shared ideas, debated, made progress. It's just great to see you, to be with you here digitally. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you safely in person again when circumstances allow. We are meeting here as the ground in Ethiopia is drenched in blood. We are meeting here when so many lives have been lost. We are meeting here where so much treasure and progress has been despoiled. I want to back up and look at how it is that the Ethiopian state came into existence, the modern state, and what course it traveled to reach this unhappy, bloody moment. Modern Ethiopia was conceived in a very bloody revolution that was triumphant in 1990. Ethiopia is a revolutionary state inspired by revolutionary ideas, two of which form the basis of its constitution and economy. The first idea, ethnic federalism, is a constitutional system that distributes power to the nations and nationalities of the state. Where the United States Constitution begins, we, the people of the United States of America. The Ethiopian Constitution begins, we, the nations, nationalities, and people of Ethiopia, and goes on immediately to proclaim the commitment of these nations and nationalities to their right of self-determination, including a right of secession. In theory, Ethiopia's ethnic federal system distributes power to each nation sufficient for that nation to control its own affairs and destiny. In other words, for each nation to self-govern. The second idea is the developmental state, and this forms the basis for Ethiopia's economy. The developmental state is a system in which a highly controlled market economy is directed by an ultra-interventionist government. In theory, the developmental state relies upon an independent professional bureaucracy at a distance from everyday politics, which steers the private sector to stated development goals. In Ethiopia, the development state exercises immense power in every sector of the economy, even in finance. And unlike any other African country, Ethiopia acts through a state-owned bank, the Development Bank of Ethiopia. It has rejected the influence of the World Bank and other neoliberal institutions. Ethiopia's development policy favors industrial development over agriculture and services. The industrial sector is dominated by Metals and Engineering Corporation, a state-owned entity managed by the military. This is the largest industrial complex in the country, and it's the primary contractor, for example, on the Grand Renaissance Dam, the largest infrastructure project in Africa's history. These two ideas, ethnic federalism and the development state, produced impressive economic results since the revolutionary movement took over a war-ravaged, starving population in 1990. Real GDP per capita more than doubled since 2004. Ethiopia experienced the highest rate of growth in Africa before the present civil war. Ethiopia is the only African country where these impressive economic results do not rely on natural resource extraction. So why is there such contestation about Ethiopia's ethnic federal system? And why is there such fragile support for Ethiopia's development model? There are several answers to these questions, and they're very relevant to the questions of the Afar that we want to consider today. First, like most developmental states, Ethiopia, despite its democratic constitutional facade, is an authoritarian state. The political system was and is dominated by a single party that marginalized the political opposition and failed to provide space for peaceful political dissent. Elections were rigged, the press controlled, journalists imprisoned. Power is concentrated in the center, in a small clique of the ruling party. Prior to 2018, the ruling party was dominated by the TPLF. This concentration of power at the center made ethnic federalism an illusion. The paper constitution distributed power to the regions, but the reality was that power was and is tightly controlled at the center. The institutions created by the Constitution are weak, controlled by the ruling party. The bureaucracy is not independent. It takes its orders from the dominant PMO. Secondly, the developmental state pushed growth successfully at the expense of equality and social development. The circle of big winners, and there are some very big winners, is very small. The TPLF used the developmental state model to deliver a disproportionate share of the growing economy to ethnic Tigrayans. Power at the center favored Tigray. Higher and lower economic status was layered over ethnic divisions, with the minority Tigrayans at the top and the majority Oromo and Amhara, to say nothing of the Afar, further down at the bottom. History teaches that this division of rich and poor, layered over ethnic and linguistic divisions, is an explosive, unstable mix, and that has proved true in Ethiopia as well. The TPLF is now gone from power, and it's unlikely to return, ever. Still, these contradictions remain in the Ethiopian state. Power is still concentrated in the center, even more tightly now than before. The program of the Prosperity Party is to move the country away from ethnic federalism and political powers based on group rights towards a unified Ethiopian national identity. Unsurprisingly, the nations and nationalities resist. Now, let's look at all of this from the perspective of the Afar nation. First question, What did ethnic federalism and the developmental state model deliver to the Afar? The answer to that question is very little. 40,000 hectares of the most fertile Afar lands in the Awash Valley were taken for sugarcane. What did the Afar get? 300 beer per person and some dry desert land kilometers away. How did it turn out? Today, the Tendaho sugar factory is closed. It's rusting. And those lands that were taken from the Afar were given to the regime's friends. Something similar is now happening with Afar potash resources. An industrial park was built by Abiy's government in Samara. That park lacks sustainable water and electricity. We'll see how long it lasts, but I'm not confident. Government promotion of agriculture is weak. The center preferring a villagization policy which displaces Afar pastoralists from their lands. Villagization has increased Afar food insecurity, compromised Afar health through changing the Afar diet, and generally depreciated the quality of Afar life. The services sector is weak in Afar state. The education sector is very weak. Social services and medical care are inadequate. There is gigantic inequality when the Afar industrial sector is compared to the industrial sector in the center. Security is not better. The 50-year-old Afar-Isa conflict has gotten steadily worse, the center refusing to end it, increasing Afar insecurity and the numbers of Afar killed by Somali Isa. 79.2% of the Afar population today live in severe poverty under the ethnic federal system in the development state, making Afar state the second poorest in the country after Somali, and much worse off than the national average. So to sum it all up, ethnic federalism and the developmental state delivered very little to Afar people. We're now in the middle of a terrible civil war in which the fundamental assumptions of the Ethiopian state are called into question. It's important, therefore, to ask, what do the Afar need? What do the Afar want? I believe there must be two types of answers to this question. The first involves the mechanisms and procedures through which the Ethiopian state will be reconfigured. In December 2021, Abiy's government passed a law creating an 11-person National Dialogue Commission. This commission excludes the most important groups contesting the present organization of the Ethiopian state. Afar need representation in any national dialogue. The Afar state, the Afar nation, is small in a big country, and to get fair representation, Afar will probably have to make alliances with dissident forces. The Afar Prosperity Party is not the right vehicle to participate in reconfiguring the constitution of the state because it represents the status quo. In any event, I doubt that a legislative-driven entity like the Dialogue Commission can achieve the reconciliation needed in Afar state, in Ethiopia. I believe that Ethiopia should establish a specially elected constituent assembly like that is now at work in Chile. I recommend Afar join forces with other groups to push for the creation of a constituent assembly independent of the Ethiopia legislature. Secondly, what are the likely Afar interests in a revised constitution? Well, this is something that will have to be discussed across Afar state and the Afar diaspora, and something that can be discussed here. But I believe the basis of that discussion can be the principles set out by the Afar elders and leaders in Samara 10 years ago. The relevant principles from that process are the rule of law, democracy, the equality of each nationality, that each nationality shall exercise rights of self-government and self-determination in a federated, autonomous region, that each nationality shall, through governments they elect, have the right to own and control their lands and resources, including surface, subsurface resources, access routes to seacoasts, fisheries, and airspace, and they shall have the right to enjoy the profits from those. That each nationality shall, through governments they freely elect, have the right to protect and preserve the vitality of their language, culture, way of life, and economy. That the rights of indigenous peoples and minorities shall be guaranteed and protected. Of course, we should learn from the past failures of the ethnic, federal, and developmental state system, which failed to deliver true equality, fair development, and progress to the Afar for the past 30 years, despite paper guarantees of equality of nations and development in the Constitution. Here, I believe we need to think through how to restrain the authoritarian tendencies of the state. I would make two suggestions in this regard. The first being to constitutionalize the independence of political parties. I believe it's where the political parties became out of control that the authoritarian state was able to operate. And also to create, secondly, a new muscular institution to protect the Constitution. At the present, the power to interpret the Constitution is in the House of Federation and its Council of Constitutional Inquiry. I believe the power to interpret the Constitution should be taken out of that institution and placed in a newly created constitutional court, which could provide very liberal means of access to ordinary citizens, as well as access to nations and nationalities. I find it very interesting that now that the TPLF has been driven from power, the TPLF likely shares many interests with the small nationalities in national dialogue and constitutional revision. The TPLF is likely to want deep autonomy in a revised constitution and strong guarantees for constitutional integrity, consistent with what I believe the Afar are likely to require. The TPLF, of course, will have outsized power in any constitutional reformation or replacement, which would arise from its military capabilities and battlefield successes, power that the Afar, as a small nation, likely does not have. Afar will have to think through carefully what this means in terms of Afar orientation and alliances in any national dialogue and constitutional revision process. I personally believe the Afar are capable of great things. They are a highly independent, adaptive, courageous people. They are also wonderful people, endowed with a beautiful culture, unique language, highly refined traditions. I hope all of this will be preserved and flourish as Ethiopia is reconfigured. I also believe that as a small nation in a large country, Afar need partners and allies. Afar have been very inventive and adaptive in making friends and allies in the past, and I fully expect this to continue in these uncertain times. Thanks again for inviting me. I'm looking forward with pleasure to discussing these matters with you and to working with you in the challenging times ahead.
Thank you, Professor.
Wow. Thank you so much for that presentation. Beautiful presentation. Really captures the situation, not just the Afar situation, but the situation in Ethiopia and the region generally. So thank you very much once again, Professor Magnet.